a lot of people don't believe that a person like me could actually be victimized. And what happened to me has happened to many, many other men in Hollywood. And since I came forward with my story, I have had thousands and thousands of men come to me and say, me too. This is my story. But I did not have the confidence, or I did not feel safe enough to come out, because what happens is, you get blacklisted. Your career is in danger. After that, no one wants to work with you. And it is really, really important, I feel, to keep this conversation going. And another thing is, I heard time and time again about the rights that my predator had, but I was never told about the rights that I had as a survivor. And that was the wake-up call that I knew I had to be a part of what's happening here today in regards to the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights. Because now, if you know what you can do, you can actually do something about it.
Mr. Cruz, I'd like to just continue where the chairman was in his questioning. So this happened to you at an event. Was it a single instance, or were there more instances? Who did you talk to about it? What kind of advice did you seek? Did you hide it? Because you're very overt, you're very direct. And I wonder if that was you at the time, or this is a new you.
Thank you for your question, Senator. I was very vocal immediately. I was at an event with my wife, and what happened was the person who did this was he was the head of the motion picture department at my own agency. I don't know what was going on in his head. He actually did it twice in the same night in front of my wife. He says he was drunk. He said he was he wasn't himself. And I immediately, the first reaction was to be violent. And I immediately held back.
Why weren't you? You're a big, powerful man. Why didn't you?
Senator, as a black man in America,
say it as it is. I think it's important.
You only have a few shots at success. You only have a few chances to make yourself a viable member of the community. I'm from Flint, Michigan. I have seen many, many young black men who were provoked into violence, and they were in prison, or they were killed, and they're not here. My wife, for years, prepared me. She said, if you ever get goaded, if you ever get prodded, if you ever have anyone try to push you into any kind of situation, don't do it. Don't be violent. And she trained me. I'll be honest with you. It was the strength of my wife who trained me and told me, if this situation happens, let's leave. And the training worked. Because I did not go into my first reaction. I grabbed her hand, we left. But the next day, I went right to the agency. And I have texts, I have phone conversations, and I said, this is unacceptable. And I told them how, I almost got violent, but I didn't. And I said, what are you going to do about this predator that you have roaming your hallways? And I was told, we're going to do everything in our power. We are going to handle this, Terry. You're right, it is unacceptable. And then they disappeared. Nothing happened.
Did you go back again? Did you talk to them again?
Yes, I talked to
And
everyone I could talk
why
to.
did they disappear?
And I asked I said, this man actually called me and he apologized. And this was the thing. And they were like, my bad. And I'm going,
So you were supposed to forgive and forget. And that was the agency position, are you saying?
That's what they were saying.
Yeah.
And I said, first of all, we're not talking about you stepped on my foot by accident. That's where, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. You assaulted me. Assaulted. And I fully expected them to, first of all, to fire this individual. And that didn't happen. I expected there to be an investigation. And that didn't happen. And
So it was hushed up.
Senator, I have to tell
Shoved
you,
under the rug.
it was hushed up. And in the culture at that time, I believed no one would believe me if I went public. I actually was trying to handle it with them. And once the Me Too movement broke, and once I saw some of Weinstein's victims come forward, it actually empowered me to tell my story in support of these women.
Let me ask you, do you talk with others? Do you find this is true with others as well, that they are empowered now to stick it out? I see it with a lot of women coming forward. I don't see it with a lot of men coming forward.
Well, yes, thank you, Senator, for that question. There have been men coming forward, but I have to say that the silence is deafening when it comes to men talking about this issue, simply because you're talking about a complicit system that men need to hold other men accountable. That is the only way the system is going to change. When you see something, when you see this type of behavior, if another man can come up to a man and say, we don't do that, we're not allowing that here, all of a sudden the culture will begin to change. And if I have to be the first one that's going to do it, then let it be. I will be that one.
That was Terry Crews, famous